This mic is $100. Which is dope. One of the goals of this channel is to eliminate the guesswork from you buying expensive gear. There are a million mics out there. It is impossible, at least not recommended, for you to buy every single one of them, figure out which one best fits you and fits your stream. If I can not only eliminate some of that guesswork, but also lead you to less expensive gear that works just as well, then that extra cash that you would have spent can now go towards a tier 3 sub on my Twitch channel. Win-win. One of the most sought after and most commonly used mic setups, even by like newer / affiliate streamers who probably shouldn't be spending this much money, is the Shure SM7B into the Go XLR, oftentimes with a cloud lifter in between. This is a $400 mic going into a $150 amplifier, going into a $400 audio interface. Today, we're gonna see if we can use the Rode Pod mic, cut out the cloud lifter entirely, which by the way, if you're using a Go XLR, you don't actually need the cloud lifter. It's got plenty of gain built into it, and save you $450. $600 if you go with the Go XLR Mini, which comes out next month. Welcome back to the Alpha Gaming channel. My name is Harris Heller. I am your stream doctor, and today, let's find you the best dynamic mic for your stream. Before we get started, I do want to remind you that I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, twitch.tv/Harris Heller, link in the description below. Also, if you find this video entertaining or helpful, any of those things, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, blah, 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 you know the drill. One of the most common questions I get on stream is, should I get this mic or should I get this mic? Should I get the Blue Spark? Should I get the AT2020? Should I get the AT2035? There are a million mics out there. My answer for condenser mics has always been the same. On Twitch, where the audio and video signal are heavily compressed in order to provide a real-time live stream setup. Also, when your voice is gonna be slightly masked by other sources, such as gameplay, teammates, music, any of the other things going on, any mic over $100 is gonna sound roughly the same. You add some simple EQ and compression to it, and the difference between mic to mic at that point is just gonna be negligible, at least in a live stream setting. Now, I've tested this pretty thoroughly. For example, there was a video back where I compared a $30 mic to a $100 mic to a $2,000 mic, and you can see the difference for yourself there. But I've been super careful to make sure I say condenser mics because I haven't had the chance to test this with a $100 dynamic mic versus some of the favorite more expensive dynamic mics like the Shure SM7B, which is $400, or the Electro Voice the RE20, which is $450. At least those are the prices US right now. And keep in mind, I've seen streamers with 15 subscribers shelling out that kind of money for this mic. It's time you guys got to see what a $100 mic of a similar style sounds like next to them. So I got my hands on a Rode Pod mic, which was surprisingly difficult. I pre-ordered this thing back in like June. It's October now, and mine still is on back order for at least another month. Actually, I had to get Sam to pick one of these up in the UK, where they actually are fulfilling orders, and bring it over to TwitchCon with him so I could finally get them. I feel like, am I supposed to pay like extra taxes when you do something like that? I honestly have no idea how that works. But it's $100, making it a quarter of the cost of the SM7B. And if it can compare in any way in quality, builds, style, this will absolutely become my top recommendation for streamers who want a dynamic mic. By the way, an important tidbit of knowledge here. Let's come even further. There are some pretty significant differences between a dynamic mic, like this one, for example, and a condenser mic, like the Kiwi that I use on my stream behind me. Just to oversimplify, where a condenser mic excels in sensitivity, a dynamic mic excels in isolation. This is why you often see condenser mics in studio situations where you have complete control of your surroundings and your ambient noise, and you're looking to pick up every single little detail on 50 different instruments so you can fine tune and tweak everything individually. This is also why you'll see dynamic mics used in concert situations where you might already be losing the details due to the whole concert experience anyway, and you want to make sure that the lead singer's microphone isn't picking up the entire band behind him, but it's isolated to just the singer. This can be an advantage to broadcasters who want to use dynamic mics because maybe you're picking up a lot of keyboard and mic sounds, or maybe you have a lot of room reverb and you want to get rid of all that and pick up nothing but your voice. a dynamic mic is going to be the way to go. And of course, there's just a difference in sound style where a condenser mic sounds a lot more natural. A dynamic mic has a little bit more of that thick radio presence that a lot of people are looking for on their stream. So to test this mic out, I put it up against two different microphones. The first test was the dynamic microphone test. I wanted to hear the difference in sound quality between the $100 pod mic versus the $400 Shure SM7B. Again, both dynamic mics. So what you're hearing right now is the Shure SM7B. And as I mentioned before, it is the go-to dynamic microphone for broadcasters. It sounds great, as you can hear right now, and we've got absolutely no EQ on it, which I usually add to my stream mics, and it's got about a 4:1 compression ratio, which is pretty standard for streaming for vocals. So you've got a pretty good taste of what the Shure SM7B sounds like. I'm gonna hit these buttons, and now we are over on the Rode pod mic. I can't actually hear the difference in my ears right now. We're gonna go listen to them in a little bit because, well, I can hear them, but my voice is leaking into it. I've got a mix of like real world sound and headphone sound. I wanna be able to hear these while I'm not talking. After that, I wanted to test it against another $100 microphone. So I picked the $100 condenser microphone, the Blue Ember, so we can really see the differences between dynamic and condenser of the same price point. So what you're hearing right now is the Rode pod mic, again with no EQ, standard 4:1 compression, same as the Blue Ember that I just plugged in here. And with the compression and the dynamic mic, when I get loud, it sounds like this, and when I get quiet, it sounds like this. Now let's move over to the Blue Ember condenser mic, which sounds like this. And if I get loud, it sounds like this, and if I get quiet, it sounds like this. But this is the difference between a condenser mic and a dynamic mic. Between the two dynamic mics, I just tested for sound quality, but between the dynamic and the condenser, I really wanted to see the difference between things like isolation. So I tested mouse, keyboard, and clicks, banging on the desk a little bit with the mouse for any shock mount necessities. And while I recorded these last night, I haven't had the chance to go and listen to them yet. So let's jump into the studio. Let's take a quick listen to all these mics. All right, I've got the test right here. You're gonna notice a slight difference in quality in my voice, by the way, because I'm using some of the same software to test these audio tests as I usually do to record my voice with this, so I had to put the mic on top of the camera. It's not as good. Anyway, let's get started on these tests and take a listen to the difference between the Shure SM7B and the pod mic. It sounds great, as you can hear right now, and we've got absolutely no EQ on it, which I usually add to my stream mics. So you've got a pretty good taste of what the Shure SM7B sounds like. I'm gonna hit these buttons, and now we are over on the Rode pod mic. I can't actually hear the difference in my ears right now. We're gonna go listen to them in a little bit. Right off the bat, there is a sound quality difference between the two. It's actually a lot more stark than I expected it to. When I was listening, because you hear your voice back into your ears through like the bones in your face, I couldn't actually hear a difference while I was live, but there is definitely a loss in presence. It's not massive, but it's noticeable. It seems like there's a pretty heavy roll off on the low mids, so you don't get that thickness of the Shure SM7B. It's really interesting that the Rode mic is clear. It doesn't sound like a crappy mic. It sounds like a poorly tuned microphone. I'm really curious if this could be made up for with EQ, if you could compensate for this and make it sound comparable. I think I'm gonna try that at the end. But let's keep listening. Let's go over to the Shure SM7B so you can hear what this sounds like, and then the Rode pod mic so you can hear what this sounds like. Yeah, the main takeaway I'm getting is that there's a lot less low end in the pod mic. I'm wondering if I could boost that up a little bit and make them sound comparable. And if so, if I can do it in recording software on my Mac, I wonder if I can do it in an audio interface like a Go XLR that has band EQ in it. A 10 band on the Go XLR, a 6 band EQ on the Go XLR Mini. It should be doable, but we'll give it a shot. Let's jump into the dynamic pod mic versus the condenser Ember now real quick, and let's take a listen. And with the compression and the dynamic mic, when I get loud, it sounds like this, and when I get quiet, it sounds like this. Now let's move over to the Blue Ember condenser mic, which sounds like this. You can already hear going into the Ember that there's just so much more detail there. That's obviously the advantage of a condenser mic. You put them right next to each other, a condenser mic is going to sound better. Let's take a look at the tests where I click the mouse and keyboards, and let's really hear the difference. I could tell a difference while I was recording it. I'm interested to hear it after the fact on these big, these big studio monitors you can see behind me. So, right now, being on the Blue Ember, see how clearly you can hear the mouse and keyboard? And then when we switch to the pod mic, yeah, they don't even They don't even, they literally are silent. And by the way, I mentioned this in the recording, but I had the exact same compression, 0 EQ on these mics, and I had the exact same noise gate between the two of them. So it's not like I just had the noise gate higher on the pod mic. That's just what a dynamic mic does. It doesn't pick up what's behind it. That's incredible. I wish I had a clicky keyboard. I would have loved to try that out and see if like whatever you call it, those really tactile keys, how those sound. All right, let's give this a shot. I'm gonna export the audio from this very first one with the pod mic versus the SM7B. I'm gonna throw it into Logic. I'm gonna see if I can add a little bit of EQ to make them sound roughly the same. I mean, I've done some very basic EQ. Sounds like I'm gonna hit these buttons and now we are over on the Rode pod mic. And I already can't hear any difference between the two at all. So we've got a 2.5 dB boost gain at 230 Hertz, and then a slight cut, which I'm not 100% sure is necessary, at about 3,800 Hertz. And that might not be the difference between the two. There was just something that felt a little harsh. On top of this, I would, as a dynamic mic, I would probably boost some of the highs, cut out some of the mids to make it a little less muddy. I would add that to it also to make it sound great, but this is all I had to do. And if you play it, again, you play it back. Sounds like I'm gonna hit these buttons and now we are over on the Rode pod mic. I can't hear the difference between the mics anymore. Really, it was just that little bit of a low end boost, which is something you can totally do on a Go XLR. So what I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna plug this in on my stream, which starts in 20 minutes. As a lot of you know, I've got a dual Go XLR setup, well, a Go XLR and a Go XLR Mini. So both of them have matching preamps, matching hardware. I'm gonna plug it into the second open XLR input that I'm not using, and I'm gonna go back and forth between them a little bit on stream using this EQ boost at 230 Hertz. We're gonna see how it goes.
There we go.
My last bullet! My last bullet! Was that a squat? I want to make sure I end this video properly, and this doesn't feel like a bajillion different cuts and moments in time, because it kind of was. The shooting of this video has taken like 3 days. There was testing of the microphone, there was listening and adjusting of the microphone. I used the microphone on stream. I wanted to make sure if I suggest a $100 microphone, it's a microphone I can rightfully suggest. I'm happy to say I spent my time and I've got some conclusions. As of right now, there are 3 things that I need in order to suggest a solid mic for a stream. There's the most obvious one, sound quality. Build quality is important too. And lastly, and this one gets overlooked a lot, it needs to look good on stream. I get a lot of people coming in raving about the Samson Q2U or asking about the Shure SM58, which are both solid microphones, especially the Shure one. That's like a world-renowned live microphone, but it doesn't look like a broadcast microphone. And this is a video broadcast. That kind of stuff is important. And when you use a live microphone in a broadcast, something feels off for the viewer. The second 2 on the pod mic are 10 out of 10. It's a heavy metal enclosure and it looks beautiful. For sound quality, right out of the box, it is definitely not a Shure SM7B. We put those two next to each other and just the thickness, the presence of the Shure SM7B was very clear over the pod mic. I wouldn't say it was miles ahead, but it was noticeable. But we put it through some EQ in my studio software and basically made the two indistinguishable from each other. I tried to replicate that on the Go XLR Mini during the live stream and did a pretty good job. It's hard to try to do that live because again, your voice leaks into your eardrums and you can't just hear the mic by itself. I'd need a couple times streaming then listening because I'd like to tweak up a couple more things. Fortunately, Go XLR has announced that in an upcoming update to their software, you're actually gonna be able to adjust the specific frequencies of the EQ bands, which is absolutely it's just mind-blowing. It's already available in their beta software right now. I've been able to toy with it. And to be able to do that on the Mini where you only have 6 EQ bands is gonna make tweaking microphones like this so powerful. We got the microphone almost to where I wanted. There are still some muddy mid-range frequencies I wanna find to cut out and really get that balance between the lows and the mids properly. But all in all, for $100, this is this is the microphone I suggest. If you're looking for a dynamic microphone and you don't just have $400 sitting around under your pillow to blow, get the pod mic, 100%. It's a great mic. It is maybe 70% of the SM7B out of the box. Add some solid EQ and compression, tweak it up a little bit for your voice, and you have a mic that's just as comparable to the SM7B, but at a quarter of the cost. There's no way I can justify spending $400 on a dynamic microphone when this beautiful, high quality dynamic mic is $100. So now that I've done a handful of tests on microphones, it looks like what you really need to decide is, do you want a condenser mic or do you want a dynamic mic? Which again, you heard those tests back and forth between the two. You know what the sound quality is, you know what the advantages and the disadvantages of both are. If you want a condenser mic, the Blue Ember is an awesome $100 option. If you want a dynamic mic, the Rode Pod mic is a brilliant option. I will link to everything in the description below. Everything will be on Amazon except for, unfortunately, the Pod mic because it's not on Amazon yet, but it looks like at the moment they have it in stock on Guitar Center, so I'll be linking to that for now. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, again, I do stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch, link in the description below. Also, if you have any questions about audio or any of these things, we have an amazing Discord community, over 30,000 members that you can go in, get some help from, ask some questions, and talk to some like-minded people about your growth. I hope this helped, and as always, happy streaming. I clicked my gun button and it didn't come out.